Welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to bring you a season preview for the 2020 MLS season. I'm going to go through my standings predictions as well as looking at each team individually and pointing out a couple of things about each of them so you have a little bit of view at what I think of each team, what they might be doing for the 2020 season. Starting off with the Western Conference, as I want to save the Eastern Conference for last, and going from the bottom of the table to the top of the table, in 13th place, I'm predicting Houston Dynamo to finish in last place for the West. Now, they did make a big signing, Darwin Quintero, in a trade from Minnesota United. He's a very good attacker. They also got a goalkeeper, Marco Maric, and Cody Cropper, who came from the Revs. Maric came over from the Bundesliga. But they did lose Romel Kyoto to Montreal, and they also lost DeMarcus Beasley to retirement. Now, also, they do have a new coach in former U.S. Youth National Team coach. That would be Tab Ramos. I think he'll do a good job just in his first season with the Dynamo. I don't think they really have enough going forward to be able to get off the bottom of the table. In 12th place, I'm predicting the Vancouver Whitecaps to be there. Now, they had some big signings. They got Canadian international striker Lucas Cavallini. He's going to do a very good job, I think, for the Whitecaps this season. They obviously scored a goal against the Revolution in preseason, and he's a very good player. He's going to be very clinical, probably get at least 15 goals in the season. They also got a winger in Christian Dejome. He's going to be a little younger, I think. So I'm not sure how much he's going to play, but he will take part for them. I think he'll be a good player for them. But I'm not sure if it's enough to get him off 12th place. Especially since they also lost center back Daniel Henry, who's previously gone on loan, but he's gone from the team now. They also lost a defensive midfielder in Yona Reis. So I'm not really sure. And my big question for them is, can their defense answer their offense? They have a really good attack. They have Inram Huang. They have Cavallini. They have some other really good players. But their defense is really weak. I'm not sure they're going to be able to stop the goals from scoring. And I don't see them finish any higher than 12th place. In a little bit of a surprise, I'm actually going to be putting Nashville SC, one of the two new expansion clubs to MLS this season. I'm going to have them finishing 11th place in the West. A lot of people are picking them to be finishing last place, but I do think they have a really good team for an expansion side. They have Walker Zimmerman, who they got in a big deal from LAFC. They also got, the first DP was Hani Mukhtar, the attacking midfielder. Came over from Europe. He's very good, and I think he will be a very key piece for their entire team. Now, obviously, they also got Dax McCarty, who's a MLS veteran center midfielder. And they got a center back veteran in Jalil Anibaba from the Revolution in their expansion draft. The question will be, is this going to be enough for them to avoid the wooden spoon for being the worst team in MLS? I do think they won't be the worst. They're not going to be anywhere near playoffs in the first season, but I do think they have enough to get not bottom of the team. So I'm going to say 11th place for them. Now, I'm going to put Colorado Rapids for 10th place in the Western Conference for the 2020 season. Really, they didn't have a whole lot going on this offseason. They brought in Nicholas Benezet from Toronto FC, and they brought in Austin Trusty from Philadelphia Union. And they did lose Dylan Cerna, who's a very good homegrown for them, but he's not going to be able to fit in them, so they got rid of him. And they also lost goalkeeper Tim Howard to retirement. Now, there really isn't much with them, so I have them finishing 10th. Do they really be anywhere in the table? But I'm just going to say 10th, just based on the other teams surrounding them. In my standings, I'm going to have FC Dallas in 9th place. Now, this team, they're going to be really good. They squeaked in the playoffs last year, getting 7th place. Though I do think this year is going to be a bit of a setback for them. They did sign Fafa Pico, who's a very, very fast winger. And they did sign a very good goal scorer in Franco Jara. And they also got a good defensive midfielder in Thiago Santos. They didn't really lose anything big either. They only lost the failed Pablo Aranguiz, who did not do well for the team, and also Dominique Badji. So they really didn't lose much. And they do have the Cobras, Zdenek Andrazic. But I think the other teams in the West improved a lot more than Dallas. So I'm having Dallas slip out of playoffs into 9th place. Next up is the San Jose Earthquakes. Now, I've been finishing 8th purely on the fact that they just missed out on playoffs last year, and I think they're going to just miss out again this year. They did bring in a new center back, Osvaldo Alanis. I think they need a lot of center back help. He's going to be a good player there. He'll probably start opening day for them. but is he enough for them, especially with Chris Wondolowski being in his final season in MLS most likely? I really do like Chris Wondolowski, want to do well. I just don't see San Jose making playoffs. They did lose their midfielder in Anibal Godoy, and the question is the Matias Almeida project really working? He made a big thing saying that within a couple seasons they'll be winning a title. I just don't know if they have enough at the moment to get that place. In 7th, I have the LA Galaxy, one of the big rivals of the Revolution. They had a very busy offseason this year. They did lose Zlatan Ibrahimovic to AC Milan, and they lost Roman Alessandrini. However, they did bring in 3 new players, at least, with Emiliano Insua, the Argentine fullback. They also got in Alexander Katai from Chicago Fire, and they got their new frontman in Javier Chicharito Hernandez. Now, will he be the new main man in the El Tráfico battle between LA Galaxy and LAFC? I'm not sure if he has enough, but I think he will probably get at least 15 goals, maybe hit 20 in his debut season. He will be very good, but I don't think that's enough to make up for the defensive issues still that lie with the LA Galaxy. In 6th place, I'm going to have a team that was really good last year, a bit of a surprise, but I think they're actually going to be pretty good this year, and that's Minnesota United. Now, last year they were one of the best defensive teams in the league because they had Ekapar, they had Vito Manone, they just had a lot of really good players. Now, they did lose Vito Manone, his loan expired. However, they got a new goalkeeper in Tyler Miller, acquiring him from LAFC. So it's a bit of a downgrade, but I still think they have a very good goalkeeper. And then they also did lose Darwin Quintero to Houston Dynamo in that trade, but they got a big signing in the attacker to replace him in Luis Amarilla. Now, he scored 2 goals against the Revolution in preseason, and he looks to be a very clinical finisher in the box. Definitely going to hit at least 15 goals a season for the Loons. But are they going to stay as tight defensively as they were last year, or are they going to open up a little bit more? And I think they're going to open up a little bit more as the Pirates age a little bit and the lesser goalkeeper. So I'm going to have them finishing 6th. Now, for one of the more active teams in MLS this offseason, we have Sporting Kansas City. Now, last year, there was a real disappointment. They struggled mightily, and they ended up missing playoffs for the first time in quite a few years. Now, in response to that, they went out and got some big signings. They got in a very good striker in Alan Pulido. He's going to lead their line. He's going to be one of the best forwards in MLS this season. They also did get a pair of center backs in Roberto Puncic. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. But they also got Winston Reed, who is in New Zealand in the World Cup with them, and he also has had time in the Premier League with West Ham United. Now, those are all really big signings, and they only lost 3 players that were key, and one of them was Seth Snovic, who's now with the Revolution, and they also did lose 2 former Revs in Christian Nemeth and Benny Feilhaber. Now, will they bounce back? I do think they will, and they're going to get 5th place, but it will be very interesting to see what they're going to do this season. Now up, I have Real Salt Lake. They're a very good team. They made playoffs last year. They've been pretty solid for a few years. They did fire Mike Petke during the season last year and replaced him with interim coach Freddy Juarez, who is now the full-time coach there. Now, this is his first full season, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. But they did sign a good winger, Jason Ramirez. He'll be a good player for them on the wing. He is young, so he's more for the future, but he'd probably be able to contribute a little bit here and there this season. And they only did lose. They lost Jefferson Savarino, a good attacker for them. They lost Brooks Glenn, a very good defender, and obviously they lost Nick Armando, their goalkeeper, to retirement. Now, I do think they didn't really improve much, but I think they had a really strong team at the end of last season, and I think they're going to end up getting 4th now in the Western Conference this season. Just missing out on the top 2, I have Seattle Sounders. The defending champions do return a lot of good their attacking talent, with Nicolas Lodeiro, Raul Ruiz-Diaz, and Jordan Morris all coming back after having a big part in the MLS Cup run last year. But their issues really going to lie in defense this year. They lost 2 good center backs in Ramon Torres and Kim Ki-hee, as well as losing a talented fullback in Brad Smith. Now, to replace the 2 center backs, they did bring in one big guy, and that is Yeimar Gomez-Andrade. The Colombian center back will be a starter for them. I think he'll do very well in shoring up their defense. And they also did bring a new deep-lying center midfielder, designated player, in Joao Paulo. I don't know too much about him, but I think he will play quite a bit for them. He'll obviously DP, so he'll get a lot of game time. And I think he'll be actually fairly solid for them and get some creativity for them. But he's more going to be trying to help out the defense, which was heavily weakened. Now, the defense of their title will heavily rely on the defense in their team. I'm not sure if they're going to go all the way, but I do think they'll make the top 3 in a home game at 3rd place for them. All right, down to the final 2 for the Western Conference. It's between LAFC and Portland Timbers. For 2nd place, I'm actually going to give it to the Portland Timbers. Now, they did lose a couple players. Zarek Valentin, a very versatile defender, and they also lost Brian Fernandez. They also had the end of last season, but it's definitely more of an impact for this season. But they definitely went out and they were very active. They made a few big signings. They got in Dario Zuparic, the center back. He's going to be a player for them. He's especially with Laris Mabiala getting a little older. Zuparic will get some good game time there. They did also bring in Diego Chara's brother, Yimi Chara. He's a very good winger. That brother connection is going to be huge for them. I think it's going to do a lot. And obviously, when they lost Brian Fernandez, it opened a spot striker. And instead of just making one signing, they made 2. They've got in Felipe Mora. They also got another Polish striker joining MLS. This one, Jaroslaw Niezgoda. Both those strikers, they could potentially go to a 2-striker setup. But they just have a lot of really good attacking talent. And I definitely think that they're going to challenge for the title. But I think ultimately they're just going to miss out on the Western Conference top seed. And now obviously that only leaves LAFC to be the number 1 team in the Western Conference this season. The defending Supporters Shield champions had a record-breaking season last year with a record-breaking season performance from Carlos Vela. Now, are they going to be able to repeat that insane feat of having a great year and record-breaking? I don't think they're going to be that good, but they're still the best team in the West. Now, they did lose a couple key players in Steven Beitashour, Walker Zimmerman, and Tyler Miller. 3 of those players are all very good to the defense. Now, to replace Miller, they did bring in Kenneth Vermeer, the goalkeeper who is playing over in the Dutch League. I think he's going to be a very good goalkeeper, probably better than Miller is, actually. So that's obviously a big upgrade for them. And they didn't bring in any new center backs, which could be a bit of an issue for them to replace Zimmerman. But they did bring a couple in young midfielders in. They got the defensive midfielder, Jose Cifuentes, and also as a pure center mid, Francisco Janela. Both those 2 players, young, they may not be like immediate starters, but LAFC has done very well with young players. If you look at Atuesta in the midfield, K in there for a bit. So I'm expecting a lot of big things from this LAFC team this season. So that is all I have for the Western Conference, and now we move on to the Eastern Conference. So in 13th in the Eastern Conference, I have Chicago Fire. They made a lot of big moves this year in a little winter of rebranding, as they just recently moved stadiums back to the original stadium, Soldier Field. They have a new coach in Rafael Wicki, and they also obviously have the new logo, which is not well liked, and obviously got some new players. They got a lot of good attackers. They got attacking midfielder Lukas Stojanovic. They got a winger in Ignacio Aliceta, and they got a big striker that is Robert Beric. So they have a lot of good players. However, they did lose Dax McCarty and Nico Gaitan. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I do not see them doing well this year. I have them in the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Next is probably the team that was the most active of any MLS team during the offseason, and that's FC Cincinnati. They made a lot of additions. They got in a good Dutch striker, Jurgen Locadia, over from Europe. He spent a lot of time over there. He's a very clinical finisher. He's going to be one of the better players in MLS season. They also got from Ajax Siem de Jong. He's going to do very well. They acquired Haris Madunin. They got Yuya Kubo and Adrian Regatin. So they have a lot of good players now in their attack, and I think they have a really good chance going forward. But their defense really isn't going to be great this year. They didn't really make massive changes. They also did lose Fernando Adi and Roland Lamar, 2 very good players up top. And obviously the biggest talking point with them was their head coach, Ron Jans, who was hired as the coach for the season. But then a controversy broke out and he ended up resigning from the team. So now they're going back to the old interim coach to try and find a new head coach with only a week to go until the season begins. So yeah, I'm having them finishing 12th, but I can see them possibly finishing last after this new controversy that broke out with Coach Jans. Now it's time to look at the second expansion team this season, and that is Inter Miami. This new team, they've probably been these teams made a lot more noise of the two expansion teams. As in the expansion draft, they did pick up a couple good players, former Revs as well. They got it was Lee Win, and not through the expansion draft, but they eventually did pick up Juan Agudelo, who went to Toronto but didn't sign there after the preseason with the Revolution. And they did make some big signings. They got a young striker in Julian Carranza, and they got their first designated player was Matias Pellegrini, the winger, and they most recently made a massive sign to sign attacking midfielder Rodolfo Pizarro from the Mexican League. So they have a lot of good players, but will they do well in their first seasons? Some are picking them for playoffs. I'm picking them 11th place. Now we have another team who has been very iffy since they joined MLS, and that is former expansion side, now 6-year in the league, Orlando City SC. Now Orlando's yet to make playoffs in their first 5 seasons. I do not expect them to make playoffs again this season. They did make a good sign in Pedro Gallese, the Peruvian goalkeeper, and they also did get a new center back, Antonio Carlos. However, they did lose Lamine Sane, who is a really good defender. They also lost Christian Higuita and Sasha Kleshin. They do have a good coach in Oscar Pereja, but will he be the one who lead them to the first ever playoffs? I highly doubt it. In 9th place, I have Columbus Crew finishing there this season. The Crew, again, they're a very good team. They're a team that I can see potentially making playoffs and getting, if they're really lucky, potentially getting a home game. But I don't think they're going to make playoffs this year. They have a good new player in Lucas Zelarayan. He's a very good playmaker, and they always seem to have good Argentine playmakers. Now, he's obviously there to replace the Federico Higuain, who has left the club. Now, they also did bring in Darlington Nagbe and Fernando Adi, but I don't know if it's enough. And they also did lose 2 players in David Guzman and Will Trapp. So will the second-year Caleb Porter be anything new for them, or is it going to be back to sort of near the bottom of the table, but more likely mid-table? And I'm thinking 9th place is about right for them. In 8th place, I have Montreal Impact. Now this one is one I'm kind of torn on, because I think Montreal, now I think about it, they really could be a bottom 3 team in the East. However, I have them finishing in 8th place in my predictions, and that's a lot of it is because they have some good players all around. But they did lose 2 of their better players in Matteo Piatti, who's now going to Argentina, and you also have Dan Lovitz. Now, both those players were starters, and I think they're very important players for the Montreal team. But they do have a new head coach as well, in Arsenal legend and former New York Rebel player Thierry Henry. But his last management experience, he actually failed at Monaco and was sacked very quickly. So I don't expect them to do very well, but I'm going to say with my guts having them 8th, though don't be surprised if they are near the bottom of the league conference. Another interesting team this offseason was DC United. They made a big move signing Edison Flores, a very highly touted young attacker. And they also made a monster trade to get Julian Gressel from Atlanta United. And they also did bring Yamil Asada back into MLS after his time away from the league, having spent previously time at DC United and Atlanta United. However, they definitely did lose some big players. They lost a youngster in Lucas Rodriguez as loan expired. But more importantly, they lost a great duo that was Luciano Costa and Wayne Rooney. Lucharu is no more, so it's time for a change of the guard at DC. And will they do well? I think they're going to get 7th place this season, just squeak into the playoffs. Next up is the Philadelphia Union. Philadelphia, they had a great year last year, one of the best seasons they've ever had in MLS. They were right near the top pretty much all season in the East. Then at the end, they kind of tailed off a little bit, but they still had a great season. Now, will they be able to keep it up again? I'm not sure. I don't think they're going to be they're not going to get a home game, I don't think. I do have them to place 6th. A lot of that is because of what they lost. They lost a very good defender in Austin Trusty. They lost one of their playmakers in Marco Fabian, and they lost their holding midfielder, Haris Meduninin. However, they did replace them, at least 2 of them. They got in Mate Oravec, the defensive midfielder, and they got Jakub Glesnes. Sorry to butcher names, but that's, as far as I know, that's how it's pronounced. But there's a nice little center back there. So they do have a little bit to replace what they lost, but they have to get chemistry with the teammates. And they also have Kasper Schmilko, so if he's able to continue what he was able to do at the end of last year, they might potentially sneak into home game, but I'm thinking 6th place is about right for them. Now, as we get to the top 5, the team that's going to be just missing out on a home playoff game, in my opinion, is going to be New York Red Bulls. This team is very interesting. They lost a couple of their talisman players, lost Luis Robles, the goalkeeper, and they also lost Bradley Phillips and Kamar Lawrence. So that's 3 really good players they just lost this season. And the only big sign they had was Mandela Egbo, the right back. So they didn't really have any massive signings, especially up top, where they have Brian White leading the line. Now, no offense to him, but I don't believe he is the top MLS starter, which a lot of teams are getting now in strikers. So don't know where their goals are going to come from. They still have very good defense. As long as Aaron Long is still there, I think they'll be fine defensively. But I think they're going to let in a couple more goals with Robles, but they need to find a way to score goals. And I don't know if they have that right now. It has finally come down to this. Time to meet to the Revolution, my hometown team. I have them finishing 4th this season, which is, we give them our first home playoff game since the playoff run in 2014. Now, I don't think they could get higher, but most likely they're going to get 4th place, and that's actually fairly good. I think a lot of us are going to be very happy with that. And now, a lot of this comes down to the signings they did. They brought in a couple left backs, and a free agent in Seth Sinovic, who was a draft pick of the Revolution, who then also spent 9 seasons at Kansas City, as well as bringing in former Manchester United and Vitesse left back Alexander Butner. Now, Butner's been injured most preseason, so we haven't been able to see him play yet, but he obviously with 2 left backs, position has been a weak point, and good to see that happening. And now the big signing for the Revs was Adam Buksa, the striker. The Polish, he has not capped yet, but he does have a call-up once with the Polish national team. He's a very good player, and currently, as I'm recording this, the Revs are playing Portland in the preseason game. Buksa has already scored a goal, so the Revs are looking pretty good with that new signing. And they also brought in another former Rev in Kellen Rowe as a free agent. They used both their free agent signings for the season in the offseason, and they got in Sinovic and Rowe. Now, they did lose a couple of players. They lost Julio Baba in the expansion draft to Nashville FC. Then he lost Juan Agadello to originally to Toronto in the Rancher draft. Then he was being taken by Inter Miami. So the question for the Revs is, can the attack carry the midfield and defense? They have a lot of good attackers. Carlos Gil was the newcomer of the year last year and team MVP. Gustavo Bo has been lights out this preseason, and he also scored 9 goals and 13 starts last season. Then Adam Buksa, another DP number 9, he's going to have a good year, I think. So, but can those 3 players and Christian Panini, who I think is going to have a good season on the left side, or right side potentially, complementing the other 3 attackers, can those 4 players carry what is a fairly shaky defense? The Reds do have Matt Turner in goal, who is arguably the best goalkeeper in MLS. They get the new left backs, which I think will be helpful. And right back, they still have Brandon Bye, and they might push DeJuan Jones over to right back instead of left back. Center back and center defensive midfielder, those are 2 weak points for the Reds. They have Michael Mancien, who has struggled mightily this preseason. They also have the draft pick Henry Kessler and Farrell and De La Mea. Those players, I'm not sure it's going to be enough for a center back, especially enough quality, because they all are prone to mistakes, and obviously Kessler, a rookie. And in midfield, the Revs have Caldwell, Zahibo, Rowe, and they also have Caicedo. Caicedo is probably the number 1 starter for us in the midfield, and who's starting next to him? I'm thinking Rowe or Zahibo, as Caldwell lacks the pace, even if he has the passing ability. I'm interested in seeing how these positions work together to try and support the attack. Because the attack's going to be fine, probably scoring at least 50 goals. There's a lot of firepower, especially when you have the bench as well. But will the Reds be able to not concede a lot of goals, which was an issue for a lot last year? We'll find out through the season, but the first game, March 29th, against the struggling Montreal team, it will be a very interesting one to watch. As the Eastern Conference's 3rd team, I'm going to pick New York City FC. Now, the New York team, they're going to be better than their New Jersey natives in New York Red Bulls. And I don't think barely. I think 3rd place is going to fit them. They did sign an Icelandic left back in Gudmundur Thorarensen. And so he's going to be providing depth behind Anton Tinnerholm. And they also did sign Gideon Zelalem, the former American Youth International, was former with Kansas City. And they also did make the deal for Keaton Parks permanent, which is the big signing for them. They did lose Ben Sweat, though, who was a good left back for them. That's why they brought in Thorarensen. But they also do have a new head coach, as Domi Tarrant left following the end of last season. And now they have Ronnie Dela. I don't know too much about his coaching experience. However, I do think it'll be interesting to see how he takes his team going places. They do have Hebert, who I think is going to be very good, as he had a hat-trick in the CONCACAF Champions League first leg, a 5-3 win. He's got a hat-trick, so that's very good for him. I think that their attack is really good. Their defense is solid. They have Sean Johnson in goal, who's pretty good. Their midfield might be where their issues are, but I do think they're good, but not good enough to make the top spots. And the second best team in the Eastern Conference this season will be Toronto FC. Now, the Canadian outfit, they are a very good team, and they did just sign Pablo Piatti. No relation to Ignacio Piatti. But Pablo is a very good player who's played a lot of time in La Liga in Spain, and he's going to be a very good player. They did lose Nicolas Benezet, Ashton Morgan, and Drew Moore. Those three players are all... They didn't play as much, but they were useful for their team. They still have a very good base. They have Alejandro Pozuelo, they have Josie Altidore, Michael Bradley. They have a lot of good base. But will that be enough for them to return to the final? I don't think they're going to go all the way to the MLS Cup final, but I do think they're going to be good enough for second place in the Eastern Conference. And the last of all 2016 we're going to talk about is Atlanta United. I think they're going to be first place in the Eastern Conference this season. Now, with them, they did lose three very good players in Leandro Gonzalez-Perez, Julian Gressel, and Darlington Nagbe. All three of those players were very useful for them and started a lot. And all are in my guard now. However, they did bring in some replacements. They got Fernando Meza to replace Gonzalez-Perez. And they did bring in Brooks Lennon, who's going to be a fullback, kind of what Julian Gressel was, though not as attacking as the German. Now, for them, their attack actually is already set up. They have probably three of the best attackers in MLS, in P.T. Martinez, Ezequiel Barco, and then obviously probably the most clinical finisher in MLS. That is Joseph Martinez. Now they're going to get a lot of goals, and their defense is pretty strong, even with Brad Guzan in goal. They're going to be first place in the East, and going from there, who knows? They might make it to MLS Cup for the second time in 3 years, and they could win it. But I'm not too sure about that one just yet with how their team is set up. Alright, that is it for my standings predictions for the 2020 MLS season. Talked a little bit about every team. I talked obviously a little bit more about the team I know the most about, the Revolution. Yeah, so that is it. And I'm not going to necessarily give an MLS prediction for what I think is going to happen come playoff time, as that's too far out from that, because there's still these summer windows for transfers. However, I'm thinking there might be an old rivalry sort of renewed, but not necessarily between the same two teams as the original rivalry. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment down below, share this, and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And I'm going to be back hopefully with some more videos talking about the Revolution as well as MLS when the season starts on the 29th of February. And obviously the Revs home opener is March 7th. So after that, I'm hopefully going to have some videos where I'm talking about the Revs or just MLS in general to try and figure out what's going on in this league. That can be very crazy at times. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care and see you in the next one. Goodbye.